guys, welcome back to Your Mindset, Your Power. You know that feeling? You finally lie down, you're exhausted, and the second your head hits the pillow, your brain wakes up like it's been waiting all day for its turn to talk. And without asking for your permission, the thoughts starts coming nonstop, like a tornado. Tomorrow's to-do list, something you're worried about, the thing you didn't finish today, and jumping from one thought to the other without transition. And the harder you try to make it stop, the louder it gets. Or maybe for you, it doesn't happen at night. Maybe it happens before something new, maybe right before a big transition, maybe something that takes you completely out of your comfort zone. And suddenly, your mind starts working overtime, trying to prepare you for everything that could possibly go wrong. If any of this sounds familiar, my friend, I'm glad you're here because there is something I want you to know. Your brain isn't broken. There is an actual reason your mind does this, even when all you want is to quiet it down. And once you understand why and what your brain is actually trying to do, a lot of the things you may have believed about yourself and your brain will start to look very different. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So here's what's actually happening. Your body has a smoke detector. A smoke detector doesn't stop to think. It doesn't check if there's a real fire or if you just burn the toast, right? It smells the smoke and it turns all the alarms on. Well, guess what? Your mind has one smoke detector too. Something feels uncertain, unfamiliar. Maybe there is a difficult conversation tomorrow, maybe an important event coming up, or something you really care about that you can't control. And your brain starts preparing for something that might happen. Your heart rate rises. Your thoughts speed up. Suddenly, your whole system is on high alert for something that hasn't even happened yet. And when this happens at night, my friend, there's actually a term researchers use for part of this experience. It's called cognitive hyperarousal. When your mind stays highly activated at exactly the same time you're trying to settle down. Excuse me. And here's what I really want you to understand. Your brain isn't trying to make your life miserable or harder. No, my friend. It's simply trying to protect you. The problem is that sometimes the smoke detector goes off not because you're actually in danger, but simply because something feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable. And when you don't understand that, it's very easy to start believing things like, I can't control my mind. Maybe this is just who I am. That was me, my friend, for most of my life. My anxiety goes a little farther than normal. Or maybe I should say, it used to. Because, listen, for pretty much all my life, my mind has been exactly what I described it at the beginning of this episode. At night, when everything was supposed to quiet down, that's when my mind came alive. Have you ever watched the movie Night at the Museum? That was my brain, my friend. Everything could be perfectly fine all day, and then the second the lights went out, suddenly everything woke up. Everything came to life in my mind. For example, if I had a trip, an important event, something that worried me, my mind would go 100 miles an hour exactly when I needed to slow down. And if I had to wake up early the next morning, oh, my friend, there were nights I barely slept at all. I spent the whole night tossing and turning while my brain was having the time of its life. I would lie there thinking, okay, if I fall asleep now, I can still get 5 hours, then 4, then 3. Until eventually I would hear the birds outside and think, finally I can get up now. I need a double espresso to be able to function. Sounds familiar? I really hope not, my friend. Because listen, for decades, I really believed I could not control my own thoughts, that there was something wrong with me, that there was nothing I could do about it. And I was constantly telling myself I was born anxious, that that's how my brain is. And listen, guys, when you repeat something about yourself for long enough, eventually you stop questioning it and you start believing in it. But becoming a mindset coach and really starting to learn and understand how our minds work really shifted that belief. And more importantly, made me question for the first time, what if this wasn't simply who I was? And if my brain learned that old story, could I teach it something differently? These questions changed everything for me, my friend, because this is what I found out. Our brains are constantly learning from repetition. The thoughts we repeat automatically, the situations we keep avoiding, the way we react over and over again, even that inner dialogue we repeat to ourselves constantly, over time, those patterns can become so familiar that they can start running almost automatically. Think about something you do every day, like driving your car, or brushing your teeth, or making your coffee. You're not standing there every morning thinking, okay, Mariella, first pick up your toothbrush, then squeeze the toothpaste into the toothbrush. No, right? You have done it so many times that your brain knows the routine. And guess what? Our internal patterns can become familiar too. If every time something uncertain comes up, your first thought is, what if something goes wrong? Or if every time you feel uncomfortable, you tell yourself, I can't handle this. Or every time something feels difficult, your instinct is, maybe I should quit. Those reactions can start becoming your default. Not necessarily because they're true, no, but because they're familiar. And this is where I love the idea of thinking about our brains almost like a computer running an old program. Some of those programs may have started years ago. Maybe something scary happened and your brain learned, I need to avoid that. Or maybe avoiding something uncomfortable brought you relief. So your brain learned, that worked. Let's do that again. Whatever the reason, your brain learned a pattern. And here's the part that gave me so much hope when I began understanding this. Just because your brain learned a pattern doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Our brains can continue to change throughout our lives. When we practice something different, when we try new things, and when we respond in new ways, we can begin creating and strengthening new neural pathways. That's neuroplasticity. So no, my friend, you're not stuck with your brain. And that doesn't mean we can magically erase every fear or every negative thought we have had. No, it means we can start teaching our brain a different response. We can start updating that old program. And little by little, we can change the story we may have been telling ourselves for years. But listen, understanding the old program is only the beginning. Because if we want to change it, we have to start giving our brain something new to practice. Let's talk about that. I like to call this the reps. This is where I think so many of us get stuck. We think we need to feel different before we can act differently. Once I feel more confident, I'll do it. Once I'm less nervous, I'll have the conversation. Once I stop doubting myself, I'll take the chance. But what if we have it all backwards, my friend? I always say confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence is built by taking the step, seeing that you can handle it, and then doing it again. Action creates evidence, and evidence also builds confidence. And that's exactly why these reps matter so much, my friend. This is something I talk about a lot in my coaching, and I like to think about it the same way we think about physical training. For example, if you want to get stronger, you don't walk into the gym and wait until the weight feels light before you lift it, right? The resistance is part of the training. And our minds need resistance too. I call those moments cognitive reps. And there's actually a fascinating area of the brain that can help us understand why these reps matter so much. It's called the anterior mid cingulate cortex, or AMCC. All right, there we go. One more of my science terms. But don't worry, my friend. You don't need to remember the name. What matters is that what it does. The AMCC is one of the brain regions involved when something is hard and your brain is basically analyzing. Do I keep going or do I take the easier way out? Think about it for a second. You're halfway through something difficult. You're tired, you're uncomfortable, and part of you wants to stop. Your brain is processing how difficult this feels, how much energy is taken, whether it's worth continuing or not. And the AMCC is one of those regions involved in that process. So let's make it practical. Imagine you decide you want to start walking every morning. One morning, it's beautiful outside. You slept really well, you have energy, so you put your sneakers on and there you go. Great, that's a wrap. But another morning, you didn't sleep really good, and it's so cold outside, and you don't feel like going. And your brain starts negotiating. Skip today. You can do it tomorrow. One day doesn't matter. But instead, you decide, I'm tired. I really don't feel like doing this, but I'm going to walk for 10 minutes anyway. That's a different kind of rep. Because when something is easy, there isn't much resistance to push through, right? But when you're tired, uncomfortable, nervous, or your mind is giving you every reason not to do it, and you do it anyway, that's where the real rep, the real training happens. You are practicing the ability to take action while another part of you is asking for the easier option. That's the cognitive resistance. That's the rep that matters most. Because every time something feels uncomfortable, my friend, and you choose to do it anyway, you're teaching yourself, I can handle this. And the next time your brain has the experience to look back on and say, I've done this before. I can do it again. Because our brains adapt through repeated experience, my friend. The more often we practice a different response, the more familiar that response can become. That's the same neuroplasticity we just talked about before. And consistency is more important than perfection, so start slow. Maybe you have always been uncomfortable going somewhere alone, and your first rep doesn't have to be walking into a huge networking event by yourself. Maybe it's just going into a coffee shop alone and staying for 20 minutes. Maybe you feel a little awkward at the beginning, but you stay. That's another rep. Maybe you have always had a hard time saying no, and this time instead of automatically saying yes, you politely say you can't. And it could feel uncomfortable at the beginning, but you do it. That's another rep. Or maybe you start something completely new and everyone around you seems to know more than you. Part of you wants to disappear and never come back. But the next day, you show up again. That's another rep. And notice what's happening? The goal isn't to stop feeling uncomfortable. The goal is to teach yourself what you can do while you are uncomfortable. Every one of those experiences give your brain new information. I did something alone and I was okay. I said no and I handled it. I handled the discomfort. I was a beginner and I went back anyway. And over time, those experiences start challenging the old prediction. That I can't handle this. Because now you have an evidence and say, yes, I can. That's why I love saying to myself and teaching my clients to say, I got another rep today. It doesn't mean today was easy. No, it means today I gave my brain another experience that challenged the old program. And here's where most of us accidentally work against all those reps. We do the hard thing and then spend the rest of the day focusing on everything we did wrong. Think about how often we do this, my friend. We finally speak up in a meeting, but afterward, you replay the one sentence you wish you had said differently. Or you try something completely new, do 10 things better than you expected, make one mistake, and guess which one gets all your attention? Yep, the mistake, right? I call this the deficit report. Is that mental review where somehow everything you accomplished get pushed to the side and your mind starts collecting evidence of what didn't go well? I should have done better. Why did I say that? I'm so bad at this. And when we do this so easily, my friend, why? We maximize our mistakes and what we haven't accomplished yet. And we usually minimize our progress. And this is not about pretending the mistake didn't happen. No, if something didn't go well, it's okay to acknowledge it, learn from it, and ask yourself what you could do differently next time. But don't let one thing that went wrong erase everything that went right. Because remember, you got the rep. Now you have to notice the rep. So here's something I invite you to try. I call it your evening progress report. At the end of the day, write down 3 performance wins and be very specific. Maybe, for example, saying, I was incredibly nervous about giving that presentation today, but I walked onto the stage and did it anyway. I taught a class for the first time today. I was so nervous and so unsure, but I got through the entire class. Or I noticed someone at work was struggling, and instead of just walking by, I stopped, I helped them. Those are performance wins, my friend. And here's something else I want you to remember. Some of the most important wins are the ones nobody else would even notice. Maybe you started a conversation you normally would have avoided. Maybe you cut yourself about to quit something out of frustration. But then you decided to give it another try. Those count too. So ask yourself, what are 3 things I did today that I want my brain to remember? But here's the thing. It's much easier to recognize all of this when we're calm, right? What happens when we are in the middle of the craziness? In the middle of when all those alarms are loud and your thoughts are moving faster than you can keep up with them? That's when we need to know how to interrupt the pattern. So let's talk about what to do when the alarm is loud. Start with your body. Before you try to reason your way through every thought, bring the intensity down a little. Take a few slow breaths. Feel your feet on the floor. Give your nervous system a moment to settle. Then create a little distance between you and the thought. So instead of saying, this is going to be a disaster, try, I'm having a thought that this is going to be a disaster. It sounds like such a small change, right? But there is an important difference. You are no longer automatically treating the thought as a fact. You are noticing as a thought. And then ask yourself, what do I actually know right now? Now, what am I afraid might happen? What do I actually know? And from there, choose something neutral and believable. This feels uncomfortable right now, but I can still take that next step. No fake positivity, my friend. No pretending everything is wonderful. You're simply creating enough space between the alarm and your response to remind yourself, I still get to decide what happens next. And I want to take you back to where I started this episode. Remember those nights I told you about when my head would hit the pillow and suddenly my brain was wide awake? For most of my life, I thought that was simply how my brain worked, like I said before. But once I understood what was happening, I created a simple routine that I want to share with you. It starts your morning with some natural light. If you can go outside, great. But if it's freezing or you can't, or just sit by a bright window and get some natural morning light. It helps give your body clock that important signal that the day has started. Then at night, before you get into bed, take a few slow breaths to help your body settle. And remember that deficit report. Put it on paper. Write down wherever your mind keeps replaying. The worries, the frustrations, what didn't go well, whatever it's still taking up space in your head. You're not trying to solve it tonight, my friend. You're simply getting it out of that mental loop. Because writing it down gives your brain somewhere to park those thoughts instead of continuing to hold on to them and rehearse them over and over again, especially when you're in bed already. It's almost like telling your brain, acknowledge this. I know this. I don't need to keep reminding myself about it tonight. And that can help quiet some of that mental activity that loves to show up the second your head hits the pillow, my friend. And then, remember, finish with those 3 performance wins. Give your brain the whole report, not only what went wrong, but the evidence of what went right too. And then close the notebook. Today is done. Tomorrow you get another rep. So, if there is one thing I hope you take from our conversation today is this. Your brain is constantly learning from what you repeatedly think, what you repeatedly do, and how you respond when something feels difficult. And just because your brain learned a pattern doesn't mean it has to stay that way. You can give it something new to learn. Every time you take the step, even when it feels uncomfortable, you get another rep. Every time you notice that progress, instead of only focusing on what went wrong, you give your brain new evidence. And every one of those moments matters, my friend. So maybe the next time you're lying in bed and your brain decides it has a lot to say, or you're standing in front of something new and familiar, and part of you is wondering whether you can handle it, I hope you remember this. Your brain isn't broken, my friend. Maybe it has simply become very good at running a program you have practiced for a long time. And if it learned that program, it can learn a new one, of course. Not overnight. Not because you suddenly stop feeling nervous, uncertain, or uncomfortable. No, but because tomorrow you show up again. You take the step, you do the reps, you have the conversation, you try again. And every time you do, you're giving your brain another experience that says, I can do hard things even when they still feel hard. That, my friend, is how we build a stronger mindset. Not by waiting until fear and discomfort disappear. No, by discovering who we can become while they're still there. So keep showing up. Keep collecting that evidence. And when today feels hard, smile and remind yourself, I got another rep today. And my friend, as always, if this episode made you think of someone who may be struggling with their own program right now, share with that person. Sometimes one conversation, one perspective can be the beginning of something very different. And as always, remember, your mindset isn't just what you think. It's where your power begins. I'll talk to you next week. I love you guys.